Yo guys, what's going on? And welcome to the first episode of my brand new FIFA 23 career mode. It is a Leeds United career mode with Leeds in the Championship, and I'm really excited for this, man. I wanted to do a new project and I was stuck on a team, but after the Premier League season was wrapped up last weekend, Leeds and Leicester joining Southampton and relegated to the Championship, I thought, yeah, why not do Leeds, right? Why not give Leeds a go and try and rebuild their team in the Championship, because Leeds are going to go through a really interesting transition in this summer transfer window. As we know, a lot of their star quality players are almost definitely guaranteed to leave and go abroad or back into the Premier League. Their team is set for a rebuild in the Championship, and I've got to say, I think it's a really exciting time for Leeds fans as well, because their team over the past 2 to 3 years has gone through a bit of an identity crisis. I mean, it was really a Bielsa ball team, then it was a kind of Bielsa hybrid Marsh team, and they never really sort of developed on from that. The ghosts of Bielsa's past were kind of still at Elland Road, even up until when Sam Allardyce took over for the last 4 games of the season. So Jesse Marsch inherited a Bielsa team, then Javi Gracia inherited a weird kind of hybrid Marsch-Bielsa team. And obviously Sam Allardyce inherited a bit of a mess, really, after Gracia was there. So, yeah, it's definitely a team that's going to go through a big rebuild. You'll see there's 8 players here that I've said are going to be leaving for sure in the summer, I feel. Those are Ilan Melier, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie. Put it this way, if Weston McKennie is back at Elland Road for next season, I will personally buy a Leeds United season ticket. I really can't see that happening, so I think I'm safe there. There's no way Weston McKennie's coming back. I think Brendan Aronson's an interesting one. I know he has a relegation release clause with Leeds, but I'd like to see him stay, personally. Beef up in the Championship, because the guy's got the strength of a rake. So I'd like to see him stay in the Championship, beef up, and get thrown into the deep end of the second tier. But Mark Carroca is definitely going to go, I think. He's already guaranteed to go to La Liga. Jack Harrison, I can't see him dropping down to the second tier as well. And also, unfortunately, Leeds fans will be gutted to hear this, but I think there's a very, very slim chance that they'll be keeping hold of their 2 big signings for the summer, which were Willing Nonto and also Sinisterra as well. Big fan of both. Nonto coming in from FC Zurich, really, really great young talented teenager, but I do think someone's going to pick him up for this summer transfer window. Sinisterra, I mean, obviously with the injury towards the end of the season, I could possibly see him going out on loan for a year. And if Leeds were to come back to the Premier League and get promoted, maybe, just maybe, Sinisterra could stay for the second year onwards, come back from a loan spell somewhere. But I think while Sinisterra and Nonto might leave on loan, I think the likelihood is they'll probably depart permanently in the summer. And as you can see here, Weston McKennie, my first order of business was terminating that loan. There is zero chance Weston McKennie staying. When he got subbed off against Spurs last weekend, the atmosphere and the hostility towards the American was, I've got to say, it was one of the most hostile reactions to a substitution I think I've ever seen. It really was that bad, so there is no way Leeds fans would want Weston McKennie back on a permanent deal. But as the players that Leeds have loaned out this year, obviously there's got a few players that will be coming back for the new year that I have to say, I think we'll do really well in the Championship next year at Elland Road. Dan James, I reckon, will come back from his loan spell at Fulham this year in the Premier League. I'm not sure Fulham want to take him permanently under Marco Silva. I think he'll probably come back to Leeds, and I'd like to see him drop down to the Championship and try and get Leeds back up. As a Millwall fan, for those who don't know much about me, I'm a Millwall fan. I've got to say, Charlie Creswell, Leeds fans, you'll be pleased to know that even if you do lose Struick and maybe Vober as well, though I think personally they both might stay, let's say hypothetically you lose them both, I think you'll be alright with Charlie Creswell. We're big fans of Charlie Creswell, fantastic young centre-half there, so he'll definitely have a role to play in my Leeds team. And also Jamie Shackleton as well, of course, and also as well Joe Gelhardt, the young striker who was on loan at Sunderland, scored a few goals last year in the Championship, helped them get into the playoffs. Of course, sadly they didn't get to the final, but Joe Gelhardt as well, I think will return to Leeds next year and do a pretty decent job, so I do expect Rodrigo to go at some point as well. But in terms of new signings with Leeds, I started off with Manning of Swansea City. Now, he's going to be released by Swansea City in real life. He's not going to stay at the Liberty Stadium. He's a really good fullback. He had, I think, 10 assists last year in the Championship. Leeds are going to pick him on a free transfer to replace Junior Firpo, who he himself might well be leaving in this summer window as well. But even if he comes in as a backup or a starter, I think he'll do really well in the Championship for Leeds next year, because he was superb for Swansea this year. A Swansea team that were okay at best. I think Ryan Manning coming into Leeds United do a solid job there as either their starting left-sided player or off the bench. Again, loads and loads of energy, this guy. Swansea fans will tell you this, loads and loads of energy. And he's in his mid-20s as well. So as a free transfer, that would be a smart little pickup for Leeds, I would say. So yeah, I think that deal is basically guaranteed to be going through very soon. So yeah, it'd be a good pickup that for Leeds on a free transfer. But in terms of departures, like I said earlier, Willie Gnonto, obviously Leeds fans would be gutted to lose him. There is a chance he might go out on loan, but personally, I think he'll probably go permanently. I think a Premier League return is quite likely. But I also wouldn't be against seeing him in the Serie A. I thought that's quite realistic as well. You know, I do try and do my transfers, at least in the first couple of seasons, as realistically as I can. Willie Gnonto, obviously, you know, youngster into Milan originally. Then he went out to Zurich in Switzerland, helped Switzerland win the championship there. Helped Zurich win the championship there in Switzerland. I could definitely see him going to the Serie A for the first time competitively for next season. So personally, I think whilst he would probably go to a Premier League side, I could see him going to the Serie A, and Torino I thought would be a nice fit there. So we sold him to Torino for just over £12 million. And for another signing with Leeds I made, well, doing the rebuild, I wanted to bring in some good young players with Leeds, but also some experienced players as well. But for the young talents I was looking for, I wanted players that are either kind of Premier League, not rejects, but players that sort of like fringe players at their Premier League clubs, or looking at players from Championship sides, League One sides, or Scottish Premier League sides. And I know Leeds do have a lot of interest in Ryan Kent at Rangers right now, out of contract in the summer, but I decided to go for a player at their rivals, Celtic, Matt O'Reilly, the former Fulham and MK Dons man. And I saw this guy play for MK Dons a few times, and I've got to say I was really impressed. He left Fulham, decided not to sign an extension there, spent a few months on trial with MK Dons, signed for MK Dons. I saw him play at Stadium MK a few times. I was really impressed. Really impressed with this kid. And yes, it was lower league football, but I wasn't surprised when Celtic decided to snap him up. And he's done quite well there at Celtic as well. If Leeds could pull this off, what a signing it would be, right? And this is the sort of player I really wanted. Tall, strong, fantastic energy. And whilst Matt O'Reilly is better going forward, creative, can strike from range as well, I do feel as though with the height, with the strength, and with the energy and the physicality as well, this guy could be an amazing box-to-box. Absolutely fantastic box-to-box. So, yeah, Matt O'Reilly, young Danish under-21 international. Matt O'Reilly's very interesting. He's, I think he's able to represent 4 nations: England, Scotland, Ireland, and Denmark, I think. But his mother's Danish, and he wants to represent Denmark on the senior level. And there's no doubt about it, his career does go on an upward trajectory, which is looking quite likely after leaving Fulham, you know, doing so well at MK Dons, and now going to Celtic as well. There's no reason why he couldn't represent Denmark on the international stage. Very good player. I signed him for £7.6 million, and I really like that signing there as well. So Matt O'Reilly was my second signing alongside Manning. We also accepted 2 bids for Robin Koch as well, who I do think will be leaving the club in the summer. One from Porto and one from, I think it was Stade Reims. In the end, he chose Porto for 9.7 mil. Adam Forshaw was an interesting one. Like I said, try and do this quite realistically here. Forshaw out of contract in the summer. I've got a feeling Leeds are going to give him a new 1-year deal though. Like, obviously Adam Forshaw's 31 years old, I think. I think they'll give him a 1-year deal at Leeds United for next year and help him, have him be an experienced pro for their transitional period when they're rebuilding their side over the summer. I think Forshaw will probably stay for another year at Elland Road as a seasoned pro there in the dressing room. But I did decide to sign another player out after Robin Koch, and that was Mason Holgate of Everton. I thought this was a really interesting transfer because, you know, Mason Holgate, obviously, you know, now Sean Dyche has come in at Everton. His future, yeah, definitely what you call coming to a bit of a crossroads moment right now. New manager coming in, hopefully there for the long term, touch wood, because I'm a big fan of Sean Dyche. With Holgate, would he be there for the long term as a squad defender, or would he want to leave and try and get first team football elsewhere? Well, in the end, we decided to snap him up to £6 million. Mason Holgate, you know, one of those players who, I talk about these players a lot, like they're good, but they're kind of what you call like fringe players at best, you know, for their Premier League sides. A lot of clubs have those fringe players at best sort of players, you know. Mason Holgate is kind of that guy. 25 years old, 75 rated, and again, at Everton, you know, Yerry Mina, James Tarkowski, they're going to want to bolster their backline in the summer anyway. I don't know if Mason Holgate's going to stick around personally. He's been there for so many years now, and the likelihood is he's never really going to be a regular starter there on a consistent basis. So I can see him going in the summer, because I don't think he's got a future at Everton, a long-term future I should say, especially now being 26 years old, a bit of a crossroads in his career if you will, needing to leave for first team football. So we sold Sinistera as well. He went to Juventus for just shy of £20 million. Like I said, I could see Sinistera going out on loan, and I know that's the dream situation for Leeds will be that he goes out on loan, Leeds get promoted back to the Premier League, and then he comes back. But I decided to put on transfers and sell him permanently, go for a bit of a hard rebuild, if you will. We sold him to Juventus, and we get the cash for him there instead. And for our first game, we had Stoke City away from home. And obviously, for the first season, Leeds rebuilding in the Championship. Sometimes it can take time for teams to bounce back after a relegation. But Leeds fans, I think, would probably say, even for next year, whilst they will be going for a rebuild over the summer, they'll be targeting an instant bounce back to the Premier League. And I think the fans will be disappointed if they're at the very least not a playoff team next season. Even if they are going to lose a lot of their star players, Tyler Adams, Willie Gnonto and so on, I think they'll be disappointed if they're not fighting for promotion for next year. Even in the Championship next year, I've got to say it's going to be, I mean, it's a ridiculously competitive league now. Next year it's going to be even more so. I'm so excited for the second tier next year. So many amazing clubs in it. Leeds and Leicester dropping into it alongside Southampton as well. But for our first game we had Stoke, and we won it by 2-0. Dan James scoring our first, and Voba got our second as well. And the following game was my first game in Elland Road, taking on Leicester, again a side who will also be looking for an instant bounce back to the Premier League. Look at this from Charlie Cresswell, man. What a tackle that was. Seen him do that at the Den a few times there. Yeah, great tackle by Charlie Cresswell and Harvey Barnes to keep it at 0-0. So this is a tough game here against Leicester, to be fair. I sort of played Stoke at a very comfortable pace for me, really, and in the end I got to win by 2-0. Didn't feel the need to do much other than that in the second half, but in this game here against Leicester I was really struggling. It was very, very even, very, very tight, very tense, if you will, and in the end got a little bit lucky. Patrick Bamford turning in his own miss in the second half with 20 minutes to go as I won the game by 1-0. So Bamford definitely is going to be the guy this year that I need to score my goals, because I'm probably not going to look for a new striker in the summer. Like I think with all the players that are likely to leave Leeds in the summer, I don't think Bamford will go. I think Rodrigo might go, but I don't think Bamford will go. And Joe Gelhardt, I think, will come back from Sunderland and will stay at Leeds for next year, for the year, and try and get them up to the Premier League. So I don't feel as though, with all the new signs I'm going to do to try and make here at Leeds United, I don't think strikers in here I'm going to worry about. I trust Bamford to be my guy. He gets me like 20 to 30 goals, somewhere in that range this season. And fingers crossed, touch wood, can hopefully farm me to promotion. If he's not scoring, I've got Gelhardt on the bench, and possibly even Sam Greenwood as well. So yeah, I feel pretty confident with Patrick Bamford, to be fair, and I think Bamford is a challenger striker. He for Leeds United will be good enough, if you will, to get them enough goals this year to fire them into contention, I should say for next year anyway. But anyway, yeah, following game was a Carabao Cup game midweek, taking on Ipswich Town, the Tractor Boys. They themselves in the Championship for next year, going up alongside Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday. We had another comfortable victory, 2-0 there at Elland Road against Ipswich, making it through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Obviously, I'm not really going to care about the Carabao Cup at all. It's nice to know that the backup boys get the job done, and they're right on cue. The goals, Greenwood and Gelhardt with those goals. Leeds United, as we know, under Bielsa, were just all out attack. They were always going to get goals, and that's why I'd say for Leeds fans for next year, I don't think they need to worry about a new striker. I really don't. Even if they do lose Rodrigo, like we do here, selling him to Monaco for £10 million, obviously they are most likely going to lose Gnonto as well, Sinister, goals there that are going to go for next year. I think they'll be fine. Like, I really do think they'll be fine going forward next year. I really can't see them having a problem putting the ball in the back of the net next year, even if they do lose quite a few of their star attacking powers. So, yeah, following that, you would have seen after selling Rodrigo at around £64 million. But I do want to try and keep this realistic and try and do a realistic rebuild with Leeds. So I want to look for players that they have interest in real life, but also sign players who wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility of signing for them in real life. With £64 million, obviously I could go and sign some absolutely class players and just dominate, just walk the Championship. But I don't really think that would be very fun. I want to sign players who Leeds, again, are linked to in real life, or players that would kind of fit the mould moving forward with a Leeds United rebuild. And this is a player they have been linked to in real life. Birmingham City, as we know, fantastic, producing great young talent recently. Obviously, Jude, doing so well out of Dortmund after moving on. Obviously, a lot of talk he's going to go join Real Madrid for next season. His brother, Joe Bellingham, absolutely fantastic player, Joe Bellingham. There's a lot of talk he's going to go and join Sunderland. I'd like him for my Leeds team, to be honest here, but I think it is very likely he's going to go and join Sunderland, so because of that, I decided not to go for him. But there is another youngster they've got who's very, very talented that Leeds have been heavily linked to for next season, and that is George Hall. Really, really good player, very quick as well, and certainly one to watch out for in the future there. So I snapped him up for £1 million there. Birmingham, as we know, financially a little bit precarious, so they'd want to sell those young players. They wouldn't hold clubs to ransom, knowing they need the money. So George Hall for £1 million there. Again, very good young talent, and no doubt about it, someone to look out for in the future. Obviously alongside Joby Bellingham as well. I think he's probably going to go to Sunderland. But for the following game, after the signing of Hall, we had our first loss as Leeds manager. Took on Coventry City away at the Rico. I felt like Coventry fans, kind of their team was done a little bit of a disservice by the media. Everyone sort of just expecting Middlesbrough to beat them in the semis and meet Luton in the final. And even when Coventry overcame Michael Carrick's side and made the final, everyone sort of thought, well, Luton will brush them aside. In the end, it came down to a penalty shootout. And don't get me wrong, Luton Town were my tip to go out via the playoffs out of the 4 teams that are in it. But I think Coventry were done a bit of a disservice. There's no doubt about it. They definitely, I wouldn't say overachieved, if you will, but they weren't really everyone's favourite to make the playoff final for this year in the Championship. I thought Mark Robbins did a fantastic job with the Sky Blues this year, taking them to the playoff final, and again all the way to a penalty shootout against a Luton Town side that were considered quite strong favourites there. And obviously I'm buzzing to see Luton in the Premier League. I'm a massive fan of Rob Edwards and really pleased for him as well after what happened at Watford. But I have to say, for Coventry fans, I felt like their team was done a little bit of a disservice there. I'm not sure if they agree, but I feel kind of sorry for Coventry fans, because it was almost like everyone just wanted Luton to go up, mainly because of Kenilworth Road, and the story behind their rise up through the football pyramid over the last decade. But I do feel as though Coventry deserved a little bit more credit for the fact they were able to knock out a brilliant Middlesbrough side under Michael Carrick, who were strong favourites to win that tie, and take Luton all the way to penalties. So I wasn't surprised in the end I lost the game by 2-0. They've got some really, really good players. Obviously, Gyökeres up top, fantastic. Swedish striker. Gustavo Hamer as well, really class player too. I wasn't surprised to lose that game there 2-0, my first loss as Leeds manager. And following that, I did decide to make a new signing as well. Earlier I was talking about how we want to sign players who are, I don't know if Premier League rejects is the right term to use, but certainly fringe Premier League players, let's just say that. And in the end, I went for Brandon Williams of Manchester United. To me, Brandon Williams is not Premier League level yet. I really don't believe that. A couple of years ago, he was out on loan at Norwich at Carrow Road in their relegation season, down to the Championship. I've got to be honest here. He's a decent young talent, and I like the fact that Brandon Williams is very versatile. He can play both left back and right back with no problems at all. And he is still such a young man, only in his early 20s, but he's had, I think, over 40 games at senior level for both Manchester United and Norwich as well. He clearly does have a bit of talent, but I think he needs to leave Manchester United. I really, really do. And I don't think at this current point right now he's good enough for the Premier League. I think he needs to drop down to the second tier, get his legs there in the second tier, develop physically, and then come back strong to the Premier League in 2 or 3 years' time. Right now, I think Brandon Williams going to Leeds United, what a move that would be for both the club and the player as well. I think that would be a brilliant little match there. Williams can replace Junior Firpo, possibly Christensen at right back, and obviously with Luke Ayling at right back as well. He can either fill in there as a backup right back, or again come in at left back too if Junior Firpo's to go to battle Manning. I think that would be a great signing to me, Brandon Williams to Leeds United. I know they have been linked in the past as well, so picked him up for £3.3 million, I think it was. Made his debut in the following game against Bristol City, fell behind there against the Robins, but in the end won it by 3-1. Joe Gelhardt got 2 in that game, and Dan James got 1 as well. So like I said earlier, even though we had that game against Coventry where I failed to get a goal, I'm going to score a lot of goals this year. Mark my words, we will be the top scorers this year. I really do feel that, because this Leeds team has so much attacking quality, even outside of Nongto and Sinistera and so on. And the following game was a Yorkshire derby. Looking forward to this next year, because they would have had another one had Barnsley got promoted. In the end, came up short of Sheffield Wednesday. But I'm really looking forward to this rivalry next year in the Championship as a neutral, and I was looking forward to playing this game as well. So taking one away at the Kirklees Stadium here. Didn't want to lose my first derby clash, my first West Yorkshire derby with Leeds United, and in the end won it comfortably by 3-0 away at Huddersfield. Somerville scored my first 2 goals, and his first 2 goals of the season in this save here. He's another player who is linked to be leaving Leeds in the summer. I hope he stays. I really do. Great young Dutch talent. Really, really good young player. I think he's only 21 years old. He's really, really young. I'd like to see him stay, personally. He scored my first 2 goals, and then I got one late on through Patrick Bamford as well for a very comfortable 3-0 victory. So, good start to the season. Won all our games apart from that loss away against Coventry there, and with the following game taking on Southampton. So, another chance against a relegated side, but this one coming in the Carabao Cup. Once again, you want to see my lineup for the game here. The first season with Leeds, for me, it's all about instant promotion, instant bounce back. And whether it's automatic or via the playoffs, I do not care one bit. I just want to get Leeds back in the Premier League for the following year. No doubt about it. So the Carabao Cup, you would have seen my line for this game here. Listen, a nice cup run. Being a Millwall fan, you know, we had a great record in the FA Cup over the past decade. You know, really, really good runs to quarter-final and to the semi-final as well. But for Leeds United in this first season, in the Championship, the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, when I tell you it's not even going to cross my mind, I mean literally, I do not care one bit what happens in the games, man. Of course it'll be nice to go through, of course a cup run will be nice, but all I'm thinking about is making sure my first team don't get injured or tired and they're ready for the weekend games in the Championship. So taking on Southampton, relegated to the second tier alongside Leeds and Leicester for the following season. Southampton were the first team to go down in the end. I felt a bit smug when I said in my pre-season predictions I think Southampton would be going down. I felt a bit smug and vindicated when they were relegated. No disrespect to the Saints, I just thought it would happen, but then again, obviously I also took ball from Fulham to go down and look what happened there. But even so, yeah, taking on the Saints here, and in the end we won it by 4-1. My backup side getting the job done. But once again, nice to get it through. But all I'm thinking about is the game on the weekend. So yeah, nice to get through. And Jorginho Rutter getting a goal as well. I don't know what to do with Rutter really, because I can play him on the wing, but I like my wingers to have sign about them defensively as well. I feel like Rutter to me would be a bit wasted as an RM or an LM. I want to get him further forward as a striker. I don't know what to do about him really. But then again, can't really replace Bamford or Gelhardt as my top 2 strikers. So I don't really know what to do about Jorginho Rutter. But anyway, yeah, he got my 4th goal and a 4-1 victory to make it through to the following round. And my final game of the month was taken on the Tractor Boys, Ipswich Town, obviously promoted to the Championship for next season there, through League One automatically in the top 2. Taking on Ipswich at Elland Road, aiming to keep our good run of form going, and our 100% start at Elland Road started off with this guy getting another 3 goals and 6. Dan James, man, like I said, he's one of those players in FIFA that it feels like you're cheating a little bit by using him, because he's just so quick. He's just lights out. When this guy gets forward, forget about it. He in the end taps in there from close range to make it 1-0. 4 minutes after the restart, Ipswich would find their leveller. But always keep the 100% running going at Elland Road so far. Only the 1 loss with Leeds so far, that coming against Coventry. Wanted to win this game and extend our nice little streak, and then 56 minutes in, had to be a little bit cheeky. Yeah, Dallas robs his man, goes through 1-on-1, cut it back to Somerville, and like I said, I hope this guy stays, man. I really, really do. 3 goals in 2 games for Somerville and the young Dutch under-21 international. Make sure we do get the win. So yeah, 2-1 victory over Ipswich Town, and there we go. We wrap up the month of August with a big win there, and we win our first 5 games out of 6 in the Championship. It's a long old season, but that's the exact start I wanted there. Almost perfect. So as deadline day came around, I did decide to make a couple more moves, and this was interesting. And I do want to say, like I said earlier, this career mode, I'm going to try and keep it as realistic as possible. I'm going to try and do the rebuild as realistic as possible, and that means that I am going to sell my star players. And if I can't sell them, I'm going to swap them out for free. In the end, Tyler Adams, who is almost definitely going to leave Leeds in the summer, we sold him to Lyon for £20 million. I wasn't going to use him anyway, because I do think Leeds are going to go. So if I couldn't sell him, then I'd swap him. If I couldn't swap him, I'd just have him in the reserves, because I can't see him being at Leeds next season. In the end, thankfully on deadline day, got a bid from the French side. He goes to Lyon for £20 million. And then I decided to get rid of Jack Harrison. Yeah, Jack Harrison, like I said, you know, I'm sure Leeds fans would love him to stay in the Championship. Personally, I just don't see it happening. I'm pretty sure he is going to go and drop down, and not drop down to the second tier with Leeds. There is a lot of rumours he's going to go to Everton. Also, a lot of rumours will go to Aston Villa. Aston Villa making Europe for next season. What an incredible job Unai Emery did taking over from Steven Gerrard. I think he's quite likely to end up with Villa Park next season. So because of that, I looked down the Aston Villa team, I looked at players that are going to be leaving the club in the summer, and I found one who I thought would be a nice little dressing room leader for me. Yep, Watford, Manchester United, Aston Villa, and out at Leeds United, you know who it is, Ashley Young. Oh, and Inter Milan, of course, how can I forget? He won the Serie A in Inter Milan, didn't he? Ashley Young, yeah, Young has been told he's going to be leaving Aston Villa in the summer. Ashley Young obviously was so rapid in his early days when he burst on the scene at Vicarage Road and at Aston Villa, went to Manchester United, and I thought Ferguson did a fantastic job with Ashley Young, really reinventing his game and making him a complete wide player, you know, and really improving his defensive game as well. I thought he was such a great player for Manchester United. Again, went to Inter Milan. I think it was on loan, wasn't it? Or did he leave permanently? I can't remember now. But he went to Inter Milan for a year, then came back to Aston Villa. But yeah, he's going to leave this summer. So I said to Unai, right, look, you know, you give me Ashley Young and I'll give you Jack Harrison for the realism. As I think that, you know, Young going to Leeds, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I don't think Ashley Young's going to retire. I think he's going to sort of player that wants to stay until his legs can't take it anymore. I think Ashley Young could still play. And I could see him dropping down to the Championship and being a seasoned pro for Leeds. That would be a really nice player there. Team leader, bags of experience, you know, tons of caps for England, loads of European experience as well. Again, dressing room leader, being at so many big clubs, so many big characters. I think that would be a great fit for Leeds United. So I picked him up with Jack Harrison going the other way. I got Mark Roca to the La Liga, swapped him to Sevilla for Ryan Johansson, young Irish, young under 21 international, I think. But yeah, Mark Roca wants to go back to Spain, wants to go back to La Liga, so just wanted to get him over there, and in the end got him to Sevilla with Johansson coming the other way. And my penultimate signing was another player who is what you'd call a fringe Premier League player. And if there was ever a definition of a fringe Premier League player, this guy is the definition of fringe Premier League player. Phil Jones from Manchester United. Yeah, Phil Jones is going to leave on a free transfer in the summer. Again, I wanted to sign someone who is going to leave their club in the summer and not, you know, David De Gea. And Melier is rumoured to be joining either Manchester United or Spurs in the summer. He had such an awful season and in the end was dropped by Sam Allardyce. Some Leeds fans would say a little too late. But yeah, he was dropped by Sam Allardyce, so his value definitely plummeted. But as such a young goalkeeper, there is still potential there. Yes, I know he had a shocking season this year. No one's going to deny that. But you know, he's had 3 years in the Premier League now, for the most part as Leeds' starting goalkeeper. I would not be surprised to see him end up again at Spurs or Manchester United, you know, as a backup goalkeeper, if not a starter, certainly at least a backup goalkeeper. So I know those two clubs are both heavily interested, as they're both looking for long-term replacements for David De Gea and Hugo Lloris. So in the end, I swapped into the Red Devils and I said, just give us Phil Jones because he's getting released in the summer. And in the end, we picked up the ex-Blackburn Rovers defender who at one time was considered one of the brightest prospects in European football, and I really do feel sorry for the guy because he became a meme in his later career. But I mean, he just had injury after injury after injury after injury, and then when he was ready to come back, he got injured again. So whilst I don't know if he'll ever be fit enough to be a regular starter for a side once again, I could see him dropping down to the Championship as a squad centre-half, you know, and being a dressing room leader. And I'd like to see that. So in the end, I picked him up for my Leeds team to be that dressing room leader alongside Ashley Young as well, the ex-Manchester United boys. So yeah, my final signing was a new goalkeeper with Melier going to Manchester United. We picked up Marek Rodak from Fulham, obviously in the game he joined Augsburg. I just signed it from Augsburg. But Fulham, obviously what a signing Bernd Leno was last year. When you talk about bargains of the season last year in the Premier League, that's one signing that goes under the radar, but it really shouldn't. Bernd Leno cost pennies for Fulham moving on from Arsenal, but what a sign. He was amazing for Marco Silva last year. Marek Rodak, though, to me, is good enough to be a starter, no doubt about it, and I don't think he's going to want to sit on the bench for another year at Craven Cottage, because Leno will start again next year. I think Marek Rodak will want to go, get first team football, and I could definitely see him dropping down to the second tier. And I think for Leeds, if they are to lose Melier, that would be a fantastic replacement. Marek Rodak, who is more than good enough, in my opinion, to be a top tier Championship goalkeeper, bottom half Premier League goalkeeper. So that's my Leeds team then. I've done my rebuild for the summer transfer window. You see the sales of the players who I do think are definitely going to go in the summer, and also rebuilding with young talent with the likes of Matt O'Reilly coming in, but also some senior pros as well with the likes of Ashley Young and Phil Jones for the dressing room leaders. Those fringe Premier League players like Mason Holgate, realistic targets like Manning as well. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with how the Leeds side is looking. Again, realistic targets the Leeds have in real life, and putting my own stamp on things in a realistic way. So the review looking quite nice right now. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the first episode of the Leeds United career, guys. If you have, then please drop a like. What I'm going to do in the next episode is play through the first half of the season, get our way through to January, and see how the team is shaping up halfway through our first season down in the Championship. Have a great day, guys. Much love, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Leeds United career mode very soon.